Hey, y'all, it's Jet Black, aka Beau Billingslea. You're listening to Two Dads in a Podcast.
All
That's
right.
fantastic. I love it. I
Awesome.
love it.
Appreciate that, man. We've been kind of living in Bo's world for the past week, sort of doing what research we can. And so you, turned down the MLB, had to turn down the NFL. You got your degree in political science. You went to law school, passed the bar, was a professional masseuse, did the acting thing on multiple levels. And I just need to know what it is that you're bad at because I'm feeling pretty depressed by I mean, have you been bad at anything in life or do you just kind of succeed?
Well, yeah, yeah, I started the guitar and then I was so busy I couldn't, I didn't, I couldn't finish it. That was when I was in Germany in the service.
Right.
And my mother was very disappointed in me. She says, "Bo," that's one of the few things I started and didn't finish.
All right, so I can check that. I got that over
Yeah,
you then.
he's got that one. He's got that one.
Right. And I've had calamity in my life. It sounds like it's been all perfect with it. Actually, it hasn't. And there was a football game my sophomore year in college, and we were playing Yale at the Yale Bowl, and
Oh wow.
I was the third string quarterback, and the first two quarterbacks didn't do anything, and so finally because I had an injury, so I had made my way up to first string, and then I dropped down to sixth string when I got hurt, because that's the way that happens, right? I pulled my
Right.
groin muscle, and so anyway, I got my chance to get in the game near the end of the game, and I moved the team down. I was rolling out, running, and throwing it, passing the ball and running it, and doing all of those great things, and we got down on the 6-yard line, and I fumbled.
Oh
Ooh,
man.
oh man.
Yeah, lost the game. Lost the game. We lost. Actually, the score was 3-0. So we lost the game, and the headline in the Hartford Courant, I think, the next day was Billingsley, GOAT of Yale game, right?
Oh.
so later all
Oh.
that week, when my teammates would see me out on campus, we'd be going to class and stuff. They said, "Hey, GOAT." How you doing, GOAT?
Oh
So
man.
yeah, I've had my moments.
So in with all those choices, you ended up in acting. You ended up both. I know you did. Your live action, and when you first started, you had true live action. I like he said, we've been living in your world. We've been doing what we can to to learn about you a little bit, so we're not asking you the same questions you've always heard, right?
Oh, I don't mind that.
Makes the response easier.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
That's
right.
So, but with that, with everything that you've done with TV, with movies, with anime, outside of the work that you've done, is there anything that you get really particularly excited about, you nerd out over?
Playing with my grandkids.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's I'm all about family and friends, and
Yeah.
luckily my two children live here in Los Angeles, so that I get a chance to see my grandkids and spend time with them. Although with the COVID, it's been difficult, but
Right.
it's a real blessing to be in town with your kids and your grandkids, and so that's what I'm a fanboy for my grandkids.
I don't blame you there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And with that, getting into acting, when you started a family, was there a change in dynamic with your career versus family, or is that something you've always maintained?
Well, early on in my life, I was very, very busy, so I wasn't home as much as I should be, and but that's just kind of the way it goes when people are starting out in life. Like when I was in the military, and I was um, functioning as a JAG, we'd be in court all day, and a lot of times they would schedule a case for one day, and and then it would run on, and so the judge would say, well, we're gonna stay here till we finish it, right? So
Right.
I get out of court like at 12:30 in the morning after been in court all day, and then I'd have to go to the library and research stuff and get up and start the whole thing again. And I also did plays while I was there in Germany. I did Bad Seed, Bell Book and Candle, Dracula. I played the lead in Dracula, and Street Scene, which is my first musical. And so while I was and I wanted to get my pilot's license, and I started the guitar, but I just didn't have time. There were only so many hours in the day. So it's just one of those things when a man is starting his career out, he has to devote a lot of time. If you don't succeed if you devote the minimum amount of time. You have to devote the maximum amount of time,
Right.
to do a good job and to succeed in your business, what you're doing. So, but now, in the twilight of my life, I'm very lucky to be able to, I don't have to worry about money, and I'm here in LA with my kids and grandkids, and so I'm still living the dream.
Now, did your kids or your grandkids ever get into sort of the more nerdier things that you were a part of? I know you did a Star Trek movie, you did numerous anime or video games. Did they think you were a cool dad for being an actor, or were you just kind of lame old dad?
I think generally what happens, you're just dad. You're just dad.
Yeah.
And but that's the way it is. I remember I was doing this show on Nickelodeon called Just Jordan. It was in
Yeah.
2006, 2007, and my granddaughter did extra work on the show. So that was one of my most favorite experiences in my career, is to be able to work with my family, with my granddaughter. But I remember she was at school and she called me, and she asked me, she said, "Papa, are you famous?" And I said, "Well, I don't know, maybe a little bit." I said, "Why do you ask?" She said, "Because some of my friends were talking about you and they didn't know you were my papa." And I said, "Oh, okay." So she said, "So since you're famous, I'm a little famous too." I said, "Yeah, you are." But it was great fun working with her. And the last show of our first season, the writers wrote this beautiful food fight. I was in Just Jordan. I ran a diner, and so the writers wrote a food fight for us. And my granddaughter was working that day, and one of the adults didn't show up. So my daughter also worked on the show, and
Nice.
and so the food fight was magnificent because my granddaughter was smushing cake in my face and pouring Kool-Aid on my head, and she turned to my daughter and said, "I love this, Mommy. I love this." And then smush, gets a handful of cake, smushes it in my face, and I remember my emotions at that time were so. It was an emotional moment because to see her enjoying, working with her papa, it was very special. So that and she was on the set a lot.
Yeah.
So, and she would run around like the queen bee, because me being a series regular. So, and of course, she got bitten by the bug. So she went on and got her career in filmmaking, and now she's working on a show called Last Man Standing,
Oh,
and
okay.
behind the scenes. So she's the one in the family who got bitten by the bug.
Yeah.
I never encouraged my son or my daughter. I figure if it was in their blood, they'd find it.
Right.
And
Definitely.
and it's one of those things there. It's a business where it's up and down. No matter how successful you are, you get rejection, and you're dealing with that. And I had a rule within myself that I didn't share bad news before bedtime or before eating.
Yeah, those are good rules.
Definitely,
yeah. I
definitely.
didn't want my family to be, oh, Papa, I'm so sorry. I mean, no, I don't want that. Right. So, and a lot of times if I'd be up for something and I didn't get it, I wouldn't mention it. And
Yeah.
unless somebody says, one in the family is, whatever happened on that? I said,
I just chose not to do it, you know.
yeah, I chose not to do it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I chose, I chose to have some me time.
There you go. So, in touching on that a little bit, you know, with your granddaughter asking if you're famous, when did you really start to realize that you were becoming a famous actor, that you were being recognized?
Uh, well, I can't really figure out when that was, but I started getting recognized when I was traveling, at airports. And a lot of people, they wouldn't know my name specifically, but they recognize the face and
Yeah.
say, "Oh, you're off to do a movie," or what do you, yeah. I said, "Yep, yep, yep." And so that, that kind of led me to the conclusion that there are some people who know that I exist.
Yeah, I told my mom that we were interviewing you, and she looked you up. She said, "He looks so familiar," and then starts going down your credit. Oh, okay. I've seen him in probably all of these things. You've done so much. What have you noticed has really changed about nerd culture from early on to now? Are there any big changes within fandom, or is it just kind of been the same except with social media now?
Well, I think it's changed from the standpoint of being nerd. Being a nerd is cool. It
It
was.
always was. It just wasn't known yet.
People didn't know how cool it was, right? Yeah, I think that's in. Obviously, social media has changed the world completely, and
Right.
I love it because it allows me to interact with my fans around the world, and that's such a great joy to be able to interact with your fans. Early on, before social media, the only interaction I had with my fans would be like when I was doing this soap opera General Hospital, and every year they'd have a fan luncheon,
Oh,
and so
really?
fans from around the world can make a reservation, and I don't know how that went, but and then they would come. Would be in August. Then they would come and have lunch with us and visit like that, and that would be it because I wasn't going to conventions. The convention culture wasn't very big years ago, so you didn't really have
Yeah.
face-on interaction with your fans. And I'd get fan mail. They'd send fan mail to the studio, and the studio would give it to me, and it was a great ego massager, because when you get fan mail, they're saying you're just the greatest thing ever, and I said, well, I
Oh,
agree.
yeah.
Yes. But so the change in the world has been, from my standpoint, has been really terrific, so that I can go to conventions and chat with my fans and hear what they have to say about how my work has affected their lives, which is it's a wonderful thing for me to to hear their stories. I hear
Yeah.
especially a lot of bebop stories where people were talking about how it helped them get through college or helped them get through a hard time in their life. And that just warms my heart, because, when you're in the booth, you don't think about, well, this might save somebody's life or this might change somebody's life for the good or anything. You're just doing a gig.
Yeah.
And then
Right.
years down the line, someone is explaining to you how, my character in Ogremon, how he affected them, or Jet Black, or the Raikage, or whoever it is, and it's a pretty special feeling because we know we're not doing brain surgery.
Well,
I mean, in this pecking order of life, we're not first responders. So, and some people, if you reach a certain level of celebrity, they can misinterpret that and think they're more important than they really are. So, uh, but yeah, that's the best part of the life now with social media and with the conventions, is that I get a chance to talk with my fans, and there were times I would get in trouble with the conventions because I spent too much time with each fan. You got to move on. You got to move on. And I said, well, they wait in line for hours to talk to me. The least I could do is give them time, you know. And yeah, that's a really exciting time for me when I have a chance to listen to the fans and hear about their lives and give them whatever encouragement I can.
So within the booth, with with anime, with probably more so live action stuff, have you ever had any like kind of crazy moments or anything that really stands out that happened while you were on the job?
Well, we had, there are a lot of fun things that happened. I remember when we were doing Cowboy Bebop, that was '98 when we did the series. We were still using paper. We weren't using tablets or anything. We were using paper.
Right.
You remember paper?
I think I might have a sheet somewhere around here.
I don't have any paper in sight except for my high school diploma.
I got you. That's exactly where it was. So I remember there were one time that Steve went in before I did, and he left a note by one of my loops. He said, "Hey, Beau, Jet sucks." So I said, "Oh, okay, it's like that, huh? Okay, all right." So I went further into the script for when he was going to come in next, and I wrote, "Hey, Steve, Spike sucks, and the Bebop is my ship."
Yeah, he's got swordfish.
Yeah, right. So, but yeah, there's been a lot of. I remember when we were recording Mushroom Samba. I don't know if you remember that episode of Cowboy
I love
Bebop.
that episode.
Oh yeah,
I have a bonsai up here just because of that episode.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Bonsai tree, great. So anyway, there was this loop where I had Steve ask me, or Spike asked Jet, "What are we having for dinner?" And so the line was shiitake mushrooms on ice. And so that's when I decided, let me see if I can slip something in there. So I said, "Shiitake mushrooms on ice." And so Mary Elizabeth said, "Oh,
Try and slip one through the sensors, maybe.
Yeah. She said, "Okay, we're going to keep that, but give me a regular one in case they don't like it." But they ended up, I don't know if you remember, they ended up using it. They ended up using it. So that was that was a lot of fun. But when you're doing anime, you're kind of limited with what you can do in terms of ad libs, and because it's already done, you have to match the flaps. It's all about matching the flaps with a believable performance. So whenever an opportunity like that presents itself, you go, "Oh yeah, let me see what I can do with this."
Able to put your fingerprint on anime.
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
No, we both like both of our favorite anime is Cowboy Bebop by
Number
far,
one.
and we also talk about the soundtrack is our favorite original soundtrack from an
Oh,
anime.
yes.
I have the tattoo of Cowboy Bebop.
Wow, I'm impressed.
Of all the anime you did, is that soundtrack just the coolest that you've ever heard?
It is.
For me, it's the first time I've ever heard of a musician having that much influence on the outcome of an actual anime, which I thought was the coolest thing ever. Because the jazz, Yoko Kanna's like ability just astounds me still today.
Oh
Yeah, she's amazing. She's absolutely amazing. And when we were doing it, we didn't hear much of music at all.
Oh,
So so we didn't realize, they would play some production for us, maybe to give us some context of what we were doing, but it was a while before we actually saw the product and listened to it. And that's when we all went like, "Wow, this is something special." But that music, Tank, the opening, all of the music is wonderful, and it's so eclectic. I mean, it comes from jazz, the blues, the classical. It's just an amazing soundtrack. She's incredibly talented.
The video you guys did earlier this year, what was the cause that you guys were supporting or raising money for?
Um,
It was the real folk blues.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, I've done so many of these now. I'm trying to remembering what that was. I think it had to do with coronavirus and the CDC.
Okay,
Um, yeah. Um, but that, yeah, Mason had a great idea for doing that.
for
That,
sure.
and it really came out nicely.
Are there any plans to do anything else like kind of like that in the future with you guys? Do you know of anything?
Well, Mason is so amazing at those things. I wouldn't be surprised if he came up with something else that might have included the whole cast, the whole Cowboy Bebop cast.
Yeah, I
You
mean
know.
that's what everybody's wanting. I know the live action TV show's coming out, but the
Mhm.
But we want more anime. We want more story.
I'm right with you.
yeah.
So, obviously, Cowboy Bebop, Digimon, all the live action stuff that you've done, like all this big stuff, and I know you're very proud of that. But is there anything, any series or movies, video games, even that you wish you could have been a part of, that you're a fan of, that man, I wish I could have been in that world?
Star Wars.
Oh,
I'm part of the Star. Part
Yeah.
of the Star Trek family, but I would love to be part of the Star Wars world.
Hey, they've got another trilogy coming out. There's still hope for you.
yeah, there
There's
you
still
go.
hope.
We'll do some grassroots campaigning, get you to be like, Samuel L. Jackson was cool and all, but have you heard of Beau Billingsley?
Yes, yes.
I think you could pull off that purple lightsaber pretty well.
I
That's
bet
a
you could.
brilliant
I bet you
idea.
could.
Brilliant idea.
So what is one of the favorite non-anime or animated thing that you've done? Whether it be like we love the Blob because we're horror fans, and
Uh,
all of the many TV shows you've been a part of. What's one of the favorites of yours?
um, A-Team was a lot of fun. I did 2
Oh
episodes of
yeah,
A-Team, and one I was the main bad guy. So they did everything to me. I was steamed. I was steamed with no, I was steamed and they used to have those steam cabinets where people would get in up to their neck, and
yeah,
the steam would make them sweat.
yeah.
So they sweated the information out of me. I was chased by a bear. I was hogtied. I was knocked out by Mr. T. We had a gunfight. That's when the bear was chasing us, and we had to jump out the window of this cabin, and it was fun. A-Team was like a cartoon in real life. A live
Yeah.
action cartoon,
Definitely.
and it was a lot of fun. So working with T. Um, but one of my favorite experiences was this miniseries I did in the '80s called North and South. Actually, it was North and South Book 2 with Forrest Whitaker and Erica Gimbel, and I portrayed an enslaved person. It was about the Civil War, and so that was a real emotional experience for me. We started filming in Charleston, South Carolina, where I was born, and
Right.
my parents came down from Connecticut. That was the first time they had come on the set where I was working. And but it was a very special experience because they came back to the city of my birth, and they were the first time on the set. And but my emotions as an actor were in a way were conflicted because it was a nice gig. It was a beautiful job, a lot of
Yeah.
fun, but it was also I was portraying an enslaved person. So I would meditate trying to experience the life of an enslaved person. As an actor, you try to get into the skin of the character and bring out, try to find what part of Beau melds with the character. And so anyway, I would meditate and try to imagine myself an enslaved person. And that was that was pretty traumatic. I mean, if you
Right.
think about being owned by somebody else, I mean, literally owned by somebody else, where they had the power of life and death over you. They could whip you. And whenever your children were born, they would take your children and sell them. And I mean, it just, you work 6 days a week from sun up to sundown, um, no pay. And then you had Sunday to yourself. So, you had to wash your clothes, all of that stuff, and then start the whole thing. And there were people who were born enslaved and lived their lives enslaved and died enslaved. They never knew freedom. Doing that role was just really impactful for me, and it still has the impact. And I think about the despair people, those poor enslaved people lived in. You know, can you imagine? You know, someone taking your children and selling them?
No,
It's,
I
it's,
don't.
and
I
then
don't
whipping
think.
you if you say something about it. You know.
I think we'd both be lying if we said we could put our minds into that state. I don't
Yeah,
think we could even. I don't think we'd be able to imagine that. I think it's important to have a person of your standing to be able to represent um, for a younger generation what's possible despite whatever sort of hardships or setbacks that you might have, because it's not a fair and equal country yet. It's still something we're striving for, but you can have a varied level of success if you choose to apply yourself
Put that hard
and
work and that effort.
hopefully get the breaks you need, because you certainly have to get a few breaks in your life.
Oh yeah, I've had a lot of breaks. I've had a lot of people help me, and it started with my parents. They brought me out of South Carolina. That was the
Yeah.
first step. Get me out of Charleston, and they went north, and and I grew up basically one of the very few people of color in my environment growing up in Connecticut. Um, and my parents gave me this self-esteem. That was the thing that my father was saying: hitting a child undermines their self-esteem, among other things. So, but I was taught that I could do whatever I wanted to do if I put my mind to it, and I was given a lot of ego support. But
Yeah.
I was very lucky because I was in an environment where there were very few black people, so I wasn't a threat to others. If there are larger numbers of people of color, then other people can for some reason feel threatened.
Oh,
So in growing up in a small town, so I had a lot of advantages that so many of my brothers and sisters don't have.
so clearly you've been raised to have this confidence, which has led to a lot of success in your life. Where do you think you go from here? Where do you think your career goes from here?
Well, I guess I'm on a nice gliding path. I'm of a certain age, so that I know that probably the biggest and the best is behind me. But as I say, I'm enjoying my life. Um, my family is here. My close immediate family is here. We've been having family reunions, so that I've been getting to know extended family around
Nice.
the country. That's stopped for a while, but um, in terms of continuing to do the voiceover, I have commercials running. I'm going to shoot another commercial this Thursday and Friday.
Oh, very cool.
So yeah, it's life is pretty wonderful for me. I can't complain about anything. I've had my ups and downs. I had colon cancer in um, 2006. I was actually with the joys of chemotherapy, by the way. Uh,
Right.
but and I was doing a series. I was doing Just Jordan that first year, and so that was kind of a challenge. Still don't understand how Mr. Bozeman did what he did for so long. Those physical roles, because
Yeah,
when
Absolutely.
I had colon cancer, and I lost about 30 pounds, and I was so weak and just struggling. But the studio helped me out. Nickelodeon was very helpful when they found out, when we all found out that I had cancer and I needed the surgery and chemotherapy. They were very, very supportive. But I'm kind of in a glide path now. My mindset obviously is not climb the mountain. Now I've climbed the mountain,
Now
right.
you're
and
camping
so
out.
now I'm camping out. I'm just enjoying my wife, my lovely wife, who's been so supportive of me, and we text with the kids all the time and exchange jokes. And so I in the autumn of my years, I'll have to say that I've had a wonderful ride, and basically thanks to my parents.
Beau, now that you're kind of, you said you're in that autumn part, you're camping out on top of the mountain. What kind of shows, what kind of movies do you enjoy watching? What do you do to relax?
I spend a lot of time with my wife and my friends, and they continue to pretend to laugh at my jokes. So.
I think that's being a dad. I don't necessarily think that's
right. It's just one of those things. But I love watching sci-fi. When I have a moment to sit down and futuristic things really draw my attention.
You had shoot, I lost it. It's gone. It's gone. It's
You're too young for that to happen.
Oh man, it's part of being that tired dad. Is just things go. Oh, they're gone.
Yeah. Because you got so many things going in your mind. You're shooting by and this and that and this and that. But I get the sense that you both are great dads, and you understand the importance of being a buddy, not just a policeman to your child, but a buddy as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even during the trying times.
Yes.
When my son was around, I don't know, 5 or 6, and I would give them horsey rides into bed, and then I'd read them stories. Bedtime stories was always a big deal and very important. And but I remember he was on my back, and I was rearing up, and I would make the sound of a horse, and then like he's galloping, right? And so my son says, Daddy, stop. I said, okay, what? He says, what are you going to be when you grow up? And I was thinking, wow, what a great question. I don't know. I have to think about that. He says, okay. And then we went on about our horsey ride. And I thought that was so cool, because he was just thinking of me as his pal, as his buddy,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I think our children are all getting a little restless, so we're probably going to get close to wrapping up with you.
I hear him fussing in the other room. His race car videos probably stopped playing.
I got you. Go in there and rescue them.
So the two dads have to get back to being two dads.
That's right.
Okay.
Beau, this was fantastic. I absolutely love talking to you. Very inspirational. It got a little deeper than I expected it to be, but I really appreciate your insight and everything that you've told us. It's definitely a wonderful role model. So thank you for everything that you've done, and just sitting here and talking with us for a while today.
Yeah, it was really my pleasure. It was my pleasure.
When you're texting the rest of the cast, you let them know about this podcast.
That's right. That's right. Be like, hey, Steve, you guys should interview. So
we've had the pleasure of talking to some other voice actors, and we're going to talk to some more. And you guys are just the funnest people, and so generous with your time, which is really great to be able to connect like this and just have a little sit down conversation, nothing too formal, and really pick somebody's brain. So thank you so much.
It was my pleasure. And you guys, I wish you a lot of luck with the podcast. Continue as you're doing it, what you're doing. And
for sure.
We'll chat again down the road.
Very cool, man.
Sounds good to me.
Best of luck with you. We'll talk to you later.
Talk to you soon.
Hey, this is Tired Dad, and you've been listening to the Two Dads in a Podcast interview series. For more content, like and subscribe to this channel. You can also follow us on Instagram, Twitch, and everywhere podcasts are available. To help us bring you more of these amazing interviews, you can support us on our Patreon. Just follow the links below, and thanks for watching.